and a short mandala offering for the teachings. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Another prayer of refuge in bodhicitta. I go for refuge into them and night into the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so forth, may I attain state of Buddhahood for the welfare of all my transmigratory beings. The Buddha, the Dharma, and I go for refuge into them and night into the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for all transmigratory beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and I go for refuge into them and night into the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the sake of all transmigratory beings. Saviour of the Snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarified the path that unifies emptiness and compassion. To the lotus in the hand, all Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech you, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled.
구두체 쪼르럽데 안가서 최 제사디 아니 양내양도 거한에 아주 노르고도 아니 아주마 손에 지금 노르네 추란자 로나 아니 로세기 삼로디 거한에 땅고도 시제 계산게다 메인 포커스 손으로디 아주 디간이 채브레 다디 딜리양조 아니 알아서 다 때문에 땅원도 준비 아니 계속 좀 쉬어라게 당아란조 denchogi milurumbuji topni ta lega harcha gore sidu zambe ani rab chunani nyomo zawani ne geme bajo sogore teda ma chuna yang ani kangon topdogi nyomo la ji khabde ji da dangzen la khabde ji jane ani roju chuna jimorung samne ani one chebaji na diriji gogres temado nyomo gi shaman roche ani chechen deveina cheba chembuda ma chevnyedi ani ko 켈렌 제마징아 최지기여서 지마도 심바 개박케게 요 말에서 이제 준주나로라야 만조리야 아니 전수당능도 와 다들 쉬우지 아니 그런 심부르샤 다 된데 인도 잠베 ang아란즈 최된데 제베갑려야 아니 예바도 셈 수르지나를 계산하죠 르버 시세 나로네 아니 다 르버 참으로 계층부 시부르데 이나에 티루기 르바 세야티 아니 강 아란 쪽이다 로디 최초선 로버디 아니 딘지기 이제지다 아니 라바도 고 셰바체마 유체마 지기 제수 만도나 엉고 양답이 지선 로만도 태좀 차기 유산베 아니 딘데디 녀바게 비쳐도 아란즈 지기 가르쳐 버려 반대 취지 잡이 아니 변나체마 남전 손로버 아니 되기다 자와라도 만남정 되게 자와도 마소나 아니 가서 그래 루벤 총랑기 아니 참고 군들로 소바도 제 고예기 nen가티 말한 줄이야 아니 점돌이 이제 땡부진에 투여 지당 안을 하바도 최군줄이 이제 땡부진에 투여 쳐도 아니 티루고 집어도 송거데 아주 내가 전부지 저기 있어요.
And so, sort of connecting with what we've discussed yesterday in the sort of hour and a half session that we had, and sort of one of the main sort of points and the main understandings that for us to take away from that was this understanding of sort of starting to understand where we're sort of mistaken, where are the sort of mistakes made, and particularly how we're making mistakes in relation to how we engage with the Dharma. And so that session was really sort of trying to orientate us to understand what the mistaken ways are, and then also to give us some way in which to some information and ways in which to be able to correct those mistakes and start to find a way of properly engaging with the Dharma. And Shantideva, the great Bodhisattva Shantideva, in his text mentions to us that we have achieved this precious human life with the leisures and endowments, fully qualified precious human rebirth and at the very and in order to make use of this precious human rebirth, the best thing that we can do with this opportunity is to be able to root out from the very root the mental afflictions. But of course, if we're not able to do that, then at the very least, we should be, as a Dharma practitioner, we should be challenging self-grasping and the mental afflictions. We should be facing them head on and attempting to challenge them. That's the sort of bottom line of how we should be, our Dharma practice should be going. If we just do our Dharma practice completely under the sway of the mental afflictions, then really we talk. But then if we do that, then although we have some sort of belief or thesis that we are a Dharma practitioner, but in reality we're not doing what we said yesterday about making the Dharma the really authentic Dharma. And so the great Bodhisattva Shantideva spoke about this with great kindness to us. And so when we're practicing, we in our we mentioned yesterday the four kinds of reasoning to bear in mind when bringing our practice, and but particularly here the reasoning the reason of kind of logical reasoning or a a reasoning of validity, or this reason helps us to again sort of make our Dharma practice into real Dharma practice. And so so using developing states of mind which are valid cognition in relation to the objects, that the mind itself is a valid cognition. So using these kind of reasons from these logical this category called the logical reasons, to get really clear ascertainment of the way things are, and very valid states of mind which ascertain those the way things are. And this is spoken about, of course, in the texts, great Indian masters' texts, such as Dharmakirti in his complete commentary on pramana, or valid cognition, but also, you know, the roots of that tradition from the great master Dignaga. And the reason that they wrote those texts and made so much effort to talk about those subjects was that they wanted us to be able to have really firm, trusting faith in refuge, and particularly using those forms of reasoning to explain and prove the validity of the jewel of the Dharma. So that in general, for us to have trusting faith in the objects of the three jewels, the objects of refuge, but specifically for us to be able to understand the meaning of the Dharma jewel using reasoning. So this is a very sort of these are the very sort of important contexts in which we engage with our Dharma practice and make sure that we're not mistaken in the ways we engage.
제 장가다 딘데기 penang aranjo tap sanje chumden de sonrobe chile ya ngaju tyapsu manro go ngela nyaba do sanje chumden di kurang ki ngaju le labja khari kyun yorsena ngai kirana shinji yins nga tabar rangjung gi jiwo mes ani chezanga nga nyomo du tusala chunzo nyomo du matwa khari yores en chezanga digi gyumzen de le chumden di ki ngoba zo sanje che 아니 게 산제기 땜바세야디 랑게 셈니 용순 유튜브이나 디산제기 땜바이 송야 직체 데넬 하바도 아니 다니 다긴 근세 낭데 수수수기 짭체야레마도 신지 용지 짭체투에 개요 말에 송야디 니 도저 삼로 땅원도 잠베 안가졸이야 겐치쇼 가르 열세도 잠베 당보디 따버랑 중기 지부스니디 아니 직 녀리야 직 까마투브나 아란주 주기 대바딘 제체 아니 고 산제 좀 된디 접시 탑게와 투지 신부 레스제 잠로제체 야 타마데 야지 우르지 투원디 렌지 몰람더 잡나 매바 찬로 용 섬이 섬로디 컨디스기 요르세도 잠베 따바란 중기 섬로디 레딩이 손로지 소르지라 랑기 아니 레다 녀몽기 왕기 슈충부지 용바들 냐바 데마토베체 아니 산지 좀 된들이야 몰람도 잡 샵된라 체원도 잠베 아니 쿠시 루고 요바도지 체 마세도 잠베 아니 타칼레제도 되메 바도지 고용해야 되게 아주 년에 잡주기 이제디 땡부지 녀마토베디 아니 제상가 객치슈도 세제 아니 제상가 자가르기 비디다 게라침보다 코나바조게 꿀리 쩐체 아니 체메 슝도조 내가 전부 차야지 디레도가.
And so this sort of before before we start thinking about refuge, the Buddha provides us with some advice here, because he says, I'm like you. I'm not some I'm not sort of a permanent and sort of self-arisen kind of being. I was like you in the sense of I was able to practice in order to tame my mental continuum, to reduce and then eventually destroy my mental afflictions and the three poisons within my own mind, and then understanding the truth of things, and then being able to tame my own continuum in the way I became the Buddha. But I'm like, I was like you in that sense, and so there's no reason why, if I'm not able to tame my own continuum, then there's no reason why you would not be able to do that also. So this is the sort of truth that the Buddha spoke about and spoke about. And then also another statement where the Buddha says to us, you are your own protector. There's not some other person that's in a sense to come to protect you. There's not, again, some other sort of permanent sort of self-arisen kind of force or person that protects you. It's you yourself who are you are your own protector. And of course the objects of refuge, such as the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, have tremendous compassion for the sentient beings, and for us and the sentient beings. But it's no use for us just to sort of treat them in that way, as a sort of permanent object out there who is our protector, and then just make prayers to them and do sort of pujas and prayers in order to try and get some kind of assistance, but still not remember that we are actually, the main problem is that we're under the sway of our own karma and mental afflictions. And so that's not the that's this way of thinking and engaging is one of the main sort of obstacles to our practice. And so we have to understand the tremendous effort that the great Indian Panditas of the past have made, particularly in presenting us with these tradition of sort of logic and epistemology of Brahmana and valid cognition, in order to explain such things as the meanings of the refuges. And so this is the this is the way they're showing us, to become your own protector and not to just treat those objects of refuge as something to just pray to and have hope that by doing that, that somehow all of our suffering and difficulties will be cleared away. So this is the reason why these great panditas made such great effort.
Okay. 라서 다 딘데지 인도 잠베 ngaranzu nyen la ta chige tidu bi riba se de na lo la ya ani gindu diye mangu shibichi yongya de ani pena pena ngaranzu nyugu sonro cheon sona ta sabyen ro ji che sona tini ta nyugu che won ji nyugu sonro de ani sabyen la teni che won do jambe ani ngaranzu gi gyudan kendele teni chungbo hindu jambe ane di takwa mayimbe chabaje dus takwa yina gyudan kenla teba gigris kede takwa yina ko rimji jeba 통구도 was rimji jeba di karegi chenersena gyudan kenla tebe tares takwa yina 직자도 kenne digri basse namjing rigwa dus tang yuan du 참말로 ngaran zogi gom gyabe kala nyamlen chebe kala pena kyamroji pyu thabo ju söwe ina 아니 ngaranzu nyenle sanje chumdendele ya mollamro shtab chegonjole ya jigi 잡르지 제백갑le ya 신이 nyenle ya 미다베고 고화도 수정부지 매베이나 nyenle nin중 이게 가고치 돈이 따왔게 시금에 단다 ngaranzu nin중 야부지 제벌le ya 미다베 고화 매베 nin중 게마토베데 페나 반된 다와 잡베기 우마주고기 나로래 야 아니 닝지 첨부를 차체로서 단다다 숑딜레 리그리 닝지 첨부를 차체로서 닝지 첨부를 차체고에 둠젠디나는 닝지나는 숨쉬지 심전 잠남미비 닝지 철미비 닝지 철미비 닝지 되게 나로네 다조 미다베기 저거디 송구요스로 지어래 제장은 미다베기 삼로도 수지 강주 슈치는 리원도 준비 인중도 비타용야 신의 닝지대 슈치에 용야 어디 인도 준비 디 가족이 닝지세 디 과대 나로라야 예버도 윤제기 남샤다 미다베 남샤 미다베 모 차라망고 주변에 디조 가주 슈체로 땅바디 저기 아니 아주데 겐 제빈자 지글 때는 용원인자 디조 용초그레세지 안주단다 except 제마토야 망체지 except 제토야 아니 베나 산지 좀 된디야 디 제수 패베인자 안주마스네 잡체사기 아주 빼디 마선 빼쳐도 주고 공차야 어 딘지기 아니 켜사만 보지 차네 제장 알란지기 낭바 산지비기 최디 아니 딘지기 남샤치야디 친리다 쉬우지 튕구도 송야디 떠루르고디 아니 가 지금 최지보 강을 샤마임바 친리다 쉬우지 튕구도 송도 잠베 제단 자와를 붙이기 되는 아주 아니 최다 상제기 최다 친리 니기 예와제제 떠죽 예와제제 저 떠죽의 친리나는 파 샤고에게 내가 친부지 세제 어두서 나야디 내가 친부시 그래 아니 게를 차샤베나니 고 나바 상제베지는 점도 채고도 선배 데저 삼로야 워스탄도 점도 땜로야지 근데 내가 친부르셔 딩에 단다 트란즈를 쉬고에 좀 생각했으나 단다 트린 쳬버주비 슝 디나로라 조 전주구 셈당 로종의 남샤도 송원도 선배 디조 체메 고르당 아니 균쟁양다다 다양다도 디나마 시그마라 봐 지난 디게디 년이야 로고야지 인도 잠배 원로디요 나마 개치슈지리 어디 전에 예 디슈비 답변진데 사면 로고 유세요 엔데네 예 인지게 칸토도 잡아체
Yes, I have to. I'm very unfortunate. I have to go to a very urgent doctor's appointment, so I can't stay for the second part of the session. And so here, looking into the sort of, the meaning of the text and connecting this with the need for a sort of understanding of logic, reasoning, and epistemology in order to help us. When we even when we look at this sort of category of this sort of valid reasonings of validity or reasonings of logical reasonings, which are primarily help to prove the sort of such things as the Dharma jewel, explain and understand the meaning of the Dharma jewel. There are sort of quite a few sort of contradictory things that come up within this. So if we look at a simple situation of cause and effect, such as that of how a sprout or a seedling arises from a seed, then in that sort of simple situation, then we can see that the seed, the sprout or seedling arising from the seed comes from a series of causes and conditions, and therefore we can say that that situation is not permanent. The seed and the sprout are not permanent. If there's something was permanent, then it would then there wouldn't be any sort of reason for it for a sort of a particular phenomena to arise in kind of sequences or stages. If something was permanent, then it would just be produced at one time, sort of just in one go, sort of thing, because there would be no necessity to arise in sort of sequence or stages. And the very fact that something arises in kind of sequence indicates to us that something is not permanent and that it relies on causes, the things rely on causes and conditions and therefore are impermanent. So getting this understanding that if things rely on causes and conditions, so using the reasoning of logical reasoning to get the idea that because things rely on causes and conditions and therefore there is change, then that must necessarily mean that something cannot be permanent. Is sort of the logical structure, the syllogisms and reasonings help lead us to that understanding. And in order to sort of more perfect our refuge and so that when we pay homage to the three jewels and we pray to them, but it's important that and then develop, we make prayers and refuge, and then we develop renunciation. But actually, connecting this with the reasoning, if we don't have a strong understanding of impermanence, then there's no way that we're really going to be able to develop a very strong and correct mind of motivation. Renunciation. I'm not talking about emptiness here. I'm just what I'm saying is that if we don't have a good understanding of impermanence, we will not be able to develop a renunciation properly, and also other states of mind such as compassion. For instance, Chandrakirti in his entering the great text, Entering the Middle Way, talks about at the very beginning of his text, he pays homage or bows down to great compassion. And then a little bit later in the text, he brings up the subject of three different kinds of compassion. Compassion focused merely on sentient beings, compassion focused on the Dharma or phenomena, and then the third one, the sort of non-referential or non-objectifying compassion. And even within these first two forms of compassion, the compassion referencing sentient beings and that referencing the Dharma or phenomena, there we see that a very, particularly in the second one, a very strong understanding of underpinning of impermanence is required in order to develop that strong form of compassion for stronger level of compassion for sentient beings, and so that is required. That understanding there of impermanence is required in order to really develop and perfect our compassion using these underpinning reasonings, which help us to understand impermanence. So you have sort of renunciation, compassion. All of these are underpinned with impermanence, and so the stronger and stronger understanding of impermanence we have will help us to develop these other states of mind. And so understanding how things are not sort of self-instituting, that they arise through causes and conditions, and connecting that also to ourselves, our own lives and our own practice, and seeing how things proceed in accord in relation to their causes and conditions, the kind of law of cause and effect, and applying ourselves in accord with that. Because we say that we're followers of the Buddha, and therefore the Buddha should be the best example of us, a best example to us, and therefore we should, follow and train in accord with the way he is done. And this explanation also is very helpful. This explanation, such as using these logical reasons and understandings such as impermanence, are very helpful for as Buddhists also in this modern world, because this is these sort of, particularly the philosophical sort of underpinnings and aspects of the Buddhist tradition, which His Holiness has been very keen to encourage us to engage in, but also with His Holiness's engagement with the scientific community, and that sort of engagement doesn't take place so much on the kind of more religious aspects of Buddhism, but takes place in these sort of tenets, the philosophical tenets, and the underlying kind of philosophy and reasoning contained within the Buddhist tradition. So this means that the Buddhist tradition here is very much in accord with at that level, in accord with engagement with modern scientific thought as well. And so our way of going for refuge needs to be underpinned by these kind of sort of reasons and ways of thinking and understandings. And so then our refuge becomes stronger and stronger. Here we're going to engage, going to explain a text which generally talks about sort of bodhicitta and lojong, and there isn't so much mention in this text here of valid cognition, of using reasonings and sort of logic, but that may be the case, but as almost like as a preliminary to this material we'll discuss on bodhicitta and mind training, these other factors, using reasoning, logic, and valid cognition to help ascertain, clearly ascertain these topics, is very important, like a preliminary.
Okay, Simon.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
Thank you.
See you.
Yes, thank you.
So now ready to
take good care, all. I'll see you this afternoon.
Listen to my broken English. So now today's the title of the book. The title of the book is what is the title of the book? Changes chances never tell. The gang de let's the just the yorbe. Take what chimbu. Menga that just like way. So in the title it says this book should be this book is bit instruction bit instruction for the for Mahayana practitioners. So now, because everybody these days are looking for pit extractions, they go rush here and there, so busy. But what is the pit instruction? So before rushing, so we really need to know how the great masters, they recognize what is this so-called pit instructions. One of a friend came to see me, studied such a long time, and then he says, now I have enough of studying, now I really wanted to do a meditation. So please point me a Lama who can give me a bit instructions. So then I can do a retreat. So I couldn't say anything at that moment because I have this incredible teacher who always remind me that bit instruction should be every time when you read something, listen to the teachings, and then this instruction has to give more kind of profound understanding towards the great master's work. Not leaving all the great master's work behind, and then you are trying to look for something else. So this not only coming directly from the teacher's experience, but in the stages of path by Lama Tsongkhapa, because he is the junior, the student of the 4 schools. So he is the youngest one. So being a youngest as a scholar, that he could see so many things that in the early school, not the school has a problem, but these students of the earlier schools, they skip so many things. The Lama does not skip, but the students always skip. So then this is the reason in the stages of path, he gives this special teaching saying, Tempa Thamji Gemedo Tobe Chewa, no contradiction within the Gemedo. By learning this Lama path by Atiśa, so what can we get something is that all the Buddha's teaching, all the 4 schools, all this, not the school or the Indian, the schools, the Chitta Mantra, Madhyamika, and Savatantika, and Karsatanta Chikargo, Chitama, near the Chiklas, Vibashika, Chirama, Vibashika, or the Vibashika school. So all this for no contradiction, and then also within the Sajaka Yunima Gilu lineage, no contradiction. To see this through this part of the stages, which is the commentary to the Lama path by Atiśa, there is this special Chewal Karsire Karza Chewashi greatness, or the benefits of this is, if you genuinely practice this, this is the one takeaway from that you can see no contradiction between the Buddha's teachings. Many of us, we do see contradictions. Like my friend, long time study, but then he sees studying never connected to the practice. So that's the problem here. The person who has designed all these texts, all designed to take this into practice, but we are not getting it. So this is something in the the future Buddha, the Maitreya, said in the Abhisamaya Alankara, the pit instruction is something that by studying that you can genuinely get confidence and great understanding towards the sutra. Similarly, the Asanga says that the pit instruction should be that the commentaries, treatises, that makes easier to search the treasure of the sutra. And then Lama Tsongkhapa, in the stages of path, he says, I can decide for you that if any kind of teaching which is called pit instruction, which never gives a great understanding towards the meaning of the sutra and the commentary of the great treatises, I decide that for you. It is not the pit instruction. How much it sounds fascinating. I make this easy for you. This is in the stages of path. So now here again, sorry. So that you said.
Simon Sade Shahar, which is
So we all, most of us, we know that the reason Atiśa was invited to Tibet, when the Tibet, the huge degeneration of Buddha Dharma teaching in Tibet happened, and then the king of the Tibet was so worried that if Atiśa is not invited, if his presence will be not in Tibet, then teachings of the Buddha Dharma in Tibet is finished. So through that, he has given his own life in a prison. But then his request is, don't worry about me. Don't spend any kind of effort that me dying in a prison is nothing. But please put all your effort to bring Atiśa to Tibet. This is my final request. So he sends his cousin, Chengju, and then Chengju requests other Lotsawas, the Nazo Lotsawa, and other Lotsawas to India and request Atiśa to come. So when Atiśa heard that the king has given his own life in order to bring him, so then he says, whether I don't ask a question now, whether there's a benefit or not, I decide that I have to go to Tibet. So when Atiśa came to Tibet, such a great master, when he sits down with the other masters, the other masters can explain Dhamma so well, and he was said, if this kind of teachers, practitioner exist in Tibet, then there's not much benefit that I need to come here. But then slowly, Atiśa is so clever. Then he examined the teacher's practices. Some teachers can be very arrogant, like, I know whatever you know, so why I need to listen to teaching from you? So Atiśa has a skill that to sit down with them and to listen to their practice. Then without any hesitation he say, haha, now I got, this is missing in you. So what is this missing thing? So many people does not know what is missing. Even these great masters in the Tibet, they don't know what. So that pit instruction, the way of the pit instruction, how they are trying to find, they really don't know. They receive lots of teachings, they do the retreats, they have the initiations, all sort of the practices, they do it. But then, the most important is, they don't know how to bring all this, what they study, that they can put that into practice. They really don't know. They don't ask these questions. So then, Atiśa's one of the greatest contribution in Tibet was Abhisamaya Alankara. People does not study that much at that time. So, and we always ask the question, like this great master Atiśa, even he is such a renowned master, why he has to travel all the way to Indonesia to receive the teaching, why sacrifice his life. So, while he giving a teaching in Tibet, then suddenly in the middle of the teaching, he kind of cried, like His Holiness Dalai Lama suddenly cried and said, now I'm reading this from here, his collection of works. Now the Lama Silingpa is no more. He passed away, my teacher, kind teacher. I'm in Tibet now. Now in the India, the way of Buddha, future Buddha materials, way of practicing compassion and bodhicitta is not practicing anywhere. And then now, on the top of that, they are practicing so much Tantra. And then he kept silent. That was the one of the biggest kind of sad moment for the Atiśa. Even though he is a great tantric practitioner. So what is take away from this, his teaching? So now, whatever Tantra, Sutra, which is all based on the compassion. And who gives the best flavor to the compassion and renunciation? It's no other than the great Indian masters who are like Dharmakirti and the Chantakirti. From the Dharmakirti, we get full understanding, greatest understanding of renunciation. And then from the Chantakirti, the greatest understanding of compassion, great compassion. So this is not practicing anywhere. So that was the greatest worry. And then people start practicing so many other things. So that was a sad moment for the great Atiśa. So, who holds this position like Atiśa, His Holiness Dalai Lama? His Holiness Dalai Lama can practice a lot and teach many tantric initiations, and then he can do so many things, but he always hold the position saying, my main practices is bodhicitta in emptiness. And my main, most of the time, whenever I get a free time, I study entering to the middle way. If you go just now to my room, on the desk, what you will find only is entering to the middle way. He kind of pinpoint that for us. Still he's saying this. But we are not really getting a point there, which is a set moment. So now, this is a very kind of a warm kind of a request, and a very, because now we share Dharma to each other, so with the kind of a genuine feeling to you all, carry on whatever you are practicing. You are so lucky to have all kinds of different practices, what you are doing. But make sure that you get one kind of teacher who can emphasize on this. Otherwise, you get the highest, but you may be not getting the point, then there's no point. So this is something I wanted to share before when we are going to say pit instruction. People, we have old habit of, oh, I liked pit instruction, so I really don't need to explore so many things, or I can study a little bit of that and then I'm happy. So that's a really bad habit. So we have to clarify that and then listen to this teaching. 다음에 this text that name is Tiagarketu Bodhisattva mani awali 배교도 전주시면 위창와 투지심보다 차츠로스 아니 라마나마 차츠로 대배하라 차츠로스 제제다 차츠와디 투지심보스도 준비 투지심보 하디 고모와체 투지 정보스도 자원 인지 정보를 찾으러 받는다 와차베기 인지 정보를 찾으는 시티제 대라만 남로 찾으러 스튜 전배 아니 딘지기 투지 정보 디 양내 양도 아니 덤버진이게 라만 남로 찾으러 시 다시네 아니 대배하러 찾으러 세디 배전 파고 전례스를 하는 증명도 so in English in English, here homage to the three objects. The first one, normally, Tujichambu, the Chatsal, it's more like a compassion Buddha, but here I think it will be quite accurate to understand on the homage to the compassion itself. Like the Chandrakirti is entering to the middle way, he says that there are so many great objects, holy objects to take a refuge and homage, but here I personally choose the compassion as the most holiest object here. So similar here, we can keep it this way. And then Lama, that there could be so many Lamas, but the most important Lama is as this is a Lojong practice. So the Lojong is to, as we say, mind training. Mind training, that mind is not other than the compassion itself. You make all the effort, all the necessary effort, whatever the logic and the practices and everything, in order to bring the flavors of this compassion turning into the great compassion. So that's why that we need this kind of a Lama, so we take homage to this kind of Lama. And Tebel hala cha tselo, how do you translate Tebel hala cha tselo?
I say homage to the deities of faith.
Deities of faith.
Or
Yeah. So that could be the Avalokiteshvara himself. So let's keep it this way at the moment. If I get a clear explanation, then we can change it. How flexible.
אז אני מראה פה על המסך הקיר את התרגום למחרוזת על פני החיים של הבודיסטווה, כמו שאמר, בטקסט הזה יש שם ארוך יותר, שאומר שזה טקסט שמכיל הנחיות מהות לתלמידי המעיין. בסנסקריט, השם המקוצר של הטקסט נקרא בודיסטווה מניאבלי, בטיבטית צ'נצ'ב סרקונג הוא שמה, ובאנגלית בודיסטווה קראנו לו פיוט, בעברית מחרוזת על פני החיים של הבודיסטווה, ולכן הוא נכתב על ידי אטישה. והטקסט מתחיל קודם כל בחלוקת כבוד. לחלוק כבוד לחברה הגדולה, לחלוק כבוד למורה הרוח, ולחלוק כבוד לישויות השלמיות של אמונה. אני צריך להגיד לפונט או רואים את הצורה? עכשיו, כשהטקסט אומר לחלוק כבוד לחברה הגדולה, החברה הגדולה בשפה הסנסקריטית זה מהקרונה, ולפעמים לבודה או לבודה מסוים קוראים מהקרונה. אז כאן הכוונה היא לא לחלוק כבוד לבודה ספציפי שנקרא מהקרונה, אלא לחברה הגדולה בעצמה. וזה גם מה שצ'נדקירטי במוסף הדרך לאמצע עשה. וצ'נדקירטי אמר שיש כל כך הרבה מושאים, אובייקטים, שהם אובייקטים מעניינים, holy objects, אפשר לומר, שאפשר לבקש במקלט. אפשר לחלוק להם כבוד, אבל כאן הוא אומר שעבורו הדבר שהוא ראוי לכבוד הגדול ביותר זה החברה הגדולה. זה הדבר הקדוש ביותר. ובשורה שני אומר לחלוק כבוד ללמות או למורה הרוח. אלה שמלמדים אותנו תרגול הלוג'ו, אימון התודעה. ונשאל את עצמנו מהי משמעות לוג'ו או אימון התודעה. אימון התודעה הוא בעיקר אימון שהוא לא שונה מחינם, non other, לא משהו אחר מחינם. אז אנחנו משקיעים מאמץ בטיפוח של חמלה, אנחנו משתמשים בלוגיקה. אנחנו מתרגלים לתת טעם לתרגול של חמלה כדי להפוך את החמלה לחמלה גדולה. ולכן פה אנחנו חולקים כבוד לאלו שמלמדים אותנו איך עושים את זה. והחלוק כבוד לישויות השלמיות של אמונה, ישויות שלמיות של אמונה כמו אבוקתשוורה וכו'. בכל מקרה, זה מה שרימוצ'ה אומר בנוגע לשורה השלישית, כבוד לישויות השלמיות של אמונה, זה קיבלנו על זה הסבר קצר. רימוצ'ה יהיה משהו נוסף להגיד בעתיד, זה לא קצר כאן. זה האופן שבו הטקסט מתחיל.
So one of the most important person who is practicing the great compassion or the mind training, bodhicitta, do little research. I think that person who is asking for the great compassion and a bodhicitta is someone who already have a quite an understanding of renunciation. That's for sure. Because the person who does not have a renunciation, person who has similar attitude like us, like how much practice, but then one small spark can bring down all our the joy of practice, that person, how much he talks about the great compassion and bodhicitta, he has this maybe aspiration towards it, but he really does not have a strong understanding of bodhicitta. So for this, it is necessary that some of you, we went through the three principal aspects of the path by Lama Tsongkhapa. That's why this renunciation, and then bodhicitta, then emptiness. This is how it is designed. So because it's very common, because when we start thinking about suffering of others, then what will we say is, I gave up on compassion, great compassion, bodhicitta, because I cannot deal with my own suffering. That comes back to it. So unless we don't have an answer to our own suffering, and then have quite a confidence that I can do it, I may complain 1,000 times, but I'm not going to give up that I can still deal with my negative emotions and the grasping for sure. Then with this attitude, then once you start engaging with the other people's problem, and then you will feel the same, like, I know where this is leading towards. I know how this person is so kind of, we are not looking down on them. It's more like you are understanding the situation, difficult situation, how they are clinging to the situation, how they are under the sway of the negative emotions. And then on that time, and then you feel like we're all same. If I can fix this, if I can get the antidote for my own problem, I can apply this kind of antidote to others for sure. Within this, then I think to search for the antidote is to not for your own, but also for others. This is why every time when we start our class, we do take a refuge in bodhicitta. That's why. So it's more like the antidote that we are going to get it. May I can share this with others. That is the system how it get into the Mahayana system. So that's why we should love Mahayana. It's not like you are complaining about your own problem every time. It's more like, if I can fix my problem, all the problems I have and other those have, it comes down to the one problem that I grasping. If I can fix this, I can also fix others. May I never be lazy on that. May I can always strong for this. So this is the attitude. This is how the mindset of Mahayana, that becomes Maha, the great. It's not true. If we use Maha as I'm a great, you are low, then it's better not to say it. But it's a real thing that is so genuine that you go sleep. You take a good rest. I go search Dharma and I come back, I give it to you. Who did that? Buddha did that. He left his palace, cozy palace, beautiful wife, and his so dear child, infant, and then he set a journey to get the antidote. Then it's not like he went to get the antidote and never came back. So then he came back and he gave his teaching to his father and his mother, and then his wife and his kid. Not only giving him the best university education from Harvard, but he has given him the liberation, my goodness. And then not only that, we can still witness the great teaching of Rahula, Buddha's son's teaching, that still we are practicing this. So how great that it is. So for that reason, we are always have to remember that whenever we start talking about to fix somebody's problem, first you need to apply or understand how can you fix your own problem. That's it, period. Okay, so after this, we are going to, some people request for a refuge, right? So then after coming back at 11:30, we have 30 minutes break, and then I will give the refuge, and then you all can participate. Okay, so thank you.